If you've decided to use fasting for weight loss, this is your lucky day because I am going to give you the advice that I wish somebody had given me before I started fasting. Things that I had to learn the hard way through trial and error. I'm going to let you know so that you can hopefully avoid the mistakes that I did. And who am I? I am Heather Schucker. I am a nurse practitioner and a health coach. But more importantly, I've personally lost 80 pounds using intermittent fasting, and now I coach others how to do it. So today I'm going to tell you 8 things that I wish I had known before I started using fasting for weight loss. Number 1, the hunger is not going to get worse and worse and worse until you explode, which is what I thought was going to happen. I actually read the book Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung back in 2018, but I didn't start fasting on my own until 2020, even though he talks about fasting in that book, because I didn't think that it was available to me because I used to get so hungry that I would describe it as hangry. I was miserable. And it turns out that that's because of what I was eating, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on. But when it comes to hunger, it's not like hunger gets worse and worse and worse until you can't stand it anymore. Hunger comes in waves. And so if you can get past like that intense hunger that might last 15 minutes, then on the other side of that, it gets calm again and you can keep going with your fast, presuming you've got some of these other things lined up. Number 2, and this one really shocked me, fasting actually gets easy. Most people, and again, you won't understand until you do it, but most people say that the fasting is the easiest part. The hardest part about weight loss is the food. And that makes sense because the food is what got us in the mess in the first place. But people think, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. I'd rather just change my diet. Changing your diet is really hard. Fasting is something that your body was designed to do and gets easier. Number 3, and perhaps the most important thing on this list, what you eat is going to be way more important than how long you can fast when it comes to whether or not you are successful in losing weight and maintaining that weight loss. There's no question. It's not even close. And here's the thing. Most people dramatically overestimate how many carbohydrates that they can eat and still lose weight and maintain that weight loss. That's it. That is the crux of the problem for most people that I meet. They just don't think it should be that way. They just can't conceive that the amount of carbohydrates that they need to eat to lose weight and keep it off needs to be that low. And that once you nail that, if you can really wrap your brain around that, you combine that with fasting, that's how you get to success. That is, I will stand on that. I will die on that hill. The way that I lost my weight is that I combined low carb and fasting. And then when I stopped doing therapeutic fasting, I stuck with the low carb. And that's why I've been able to maintain my weight loss, period. Number 4, don't pre-game or post-game a fast. What is that? Pre-gaming a fast is, I'm not going to eat for a really long time. I better eat more now so I'll have enough to last me. Friend, when you are fasting, the entire point of it when it comes to weight loss is that you want to use up body fat for fuel. So putting a whole bunch more energy in your belly right before you fast is like going completely against what you're trying to do here. So now your body has to use that all up before it taps into body fat. You don't want to go into a fast like stuffed to the gills. You want to go in regular so that when your body starts needing more energy, it goes to the body fat, not what you filled up in your stomach. And then on the flip side, that post gaming, that I just didn't eat for all this time, so I better, refill my reserves. What? You're trying to lose weight. You don't want to refill. You don't want to backfill what you just lost. The whole point was to create a deficit. So just eat normal, right? Before the fast, after the fast, eat normal. And so that when you take the fasting away, you're just in the practice of eating normal. And so you won't put it all back on. Number 5, from day 1, when you first start learning how to fast, Learn how to only eat at meal times and not snacking and grazing in between them. It's not a window. You don't eat for, 6 hours straight in the middle of the day or 8 hours straight in the middle of the day, which is what some people think of when they hear 16:8 or 18:6. That's not it. The whole point is you want to, kind of compel your body to stop dumping so much insulin in the system and to use body fat for fuel. And so the last thing you want to do is keep eating constantly, because when you eat constantly, that bumps your insulin constantly. And it's not giving your body the opportunity to need to tap into body fat for fuel. So after you eat breakfast, that's it. You wait, you give it 5, 6 hours before you have another meal so that whatever insulin your body released as a result of that breakfast has time to settle back down. You might even tap into a little bit of body fat before you have your second or third meal of the day, depending on how many meals you're eating. So that is the practice. Even once you lose your body fat and you're trying to maintain that weight loss, you're going to want to go back to that rhythm. So that is something that you should be practicing from the get-go. Number 6, you want to alternate fasting days and eating days. You don't want your body to get so used to calorie restriction, which is what happens if you just try to do one meal a day over and over again. You want to keep it guessing. Keep it wondering, if is there enough food? Is there not enough food? I don't know. You go back and forth between fasting and eating, and that switches it up enough so that your body doesn't acclimate the way it does when you do calorie restriction every day. So if you just eat one meal a day over and over and over again, your body is like, oh, we must not have enough food. I better conserve energy. And it does. It lowers your metabolism. Whereas if you alternate, I'm eating 2 meals, now I'm only eating one meal. Now I'm eating 2 meals, now I'm only eating one meal. I'm eating 2 meals, now I'm eating no meals. I'm eating 2 meals, now I'm eating no meals. Your body doesn't catch on. And that's how it's able to kind of wiggle its way into using body fat without slowing your metabolism down to a crawl. The other piece to this is that more is not always better. People think, oh, if I can fast for one day, then 5 must be so much better. And they try to keep pushing these long fasts. And it doesn't usually work out that way. It seems to be so much more effective to do that in and out when you're using fasting for fat loss. There are other reasons that people choose to fast, but when it comes to fat loss, alternating between fasting and eating and not doing just long fast after a long fast seems to be a highly effective strategy. Number 7, salt is non-negotiable if you want to be a faster. Because when we aren't eating, then we are not getting salt. And that is, something that we need to help keep our body hydrated. And so when people try to go all day or a couple days without eating and not using salt, then their body is peeing out all their electrolytes and the salt isn't there to hold them on. And so they feel like hot garbage. And they feel way hungrier than they would feel if they were hydrated. The body has this thing where when you're dehydrated or hungry, it kind of gives you the same sensation. So sometimes we mistake dehydration for hunger and we eat even though all we really needed to do was to get some salt and water in our bodies. Number 8, overnight fasting turbocharges weight loss. I mean, I experienced it and I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this real? Is this really happening? That was my lived experience. I lost 55 pounds in 6 months. It was crazy. Oh my God, it happened so fast once I got the rhythm of alternate day fasting and low carb eating down. It was crazy. I can't even, oh my God. That said, the scale still does not go down like a straight line. That seems to surprise people too. It's kind of like this zigzag pattern. People think that after a fast, it's just going to go down and stay down, but it doesn't, because part of what you're losing when you fast is some water. Like most of weight loss, I'm sure you've experienced, there's all kinds of water shifts. And so after a fast, you see it go down and then you eat and it goes back up and you're like, oh my God, I just undid everything that I did. No, you didn't, right? But you don't lose like 4 pounds in a day. That was water. You can lose about half a pound of body fat in a day of full day fasting. So you might see it go down 4 and up 3.5. you're still down half. And so that zigzag pattern, kind of repeats, and you just watch the trend lines. Like gradually, the weight starts to come down over time. And I got to tell you, this is not an easy thing to do on your own. I did try to do it on my own. I assure you, I read the book Life in the Fasting Lane in 2020, July of 2020. And I absolutely tried to do the fasting on my own. I don't need help. I don't need somebody to tell me what to do. It's all here in the book. I'll just do what it says. And I tried to fast on my own for 2 years. And in the beginning, I was very successful. I lost 25 pounds on my own, but then I started gaining it back and it sucked. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? Like, why isn't this working? It was so magical and now it's not anymore. And then I joined the community. I invested in coaching, and that's how I was able to get to my weight loss success. That's why I left my job as a primary care provider and became a coach, because it was such a powerful experience for me that I wanted to help others have that powerful experience. So, I would never tell anybody, don't try this on your own, give it a shot. But if you can't make it, it's still an incredibly powerful tool. And there's nothing wrong with you if you need a little bit more support. I needed more support to do it. I know some people don't. There's some people that have been able to lose a crazy amount of weight using low carb and intermittent fasting on their own. And that's awesome. But I think that's the exception, not the rule. It is way more common that people do better if they get help doing it. I know that sounds self-serving. Take it for what it's worth. That was my lived experience. So keep trying it on your own. But if it doesn't work out, you might want to give getting help a shot.